Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is, and welcome back. I hope that your week is unfolding oh so beautifully. It's Wednesday. We know it's all downhill from here, and we are jamming today. We got a bunch of stuff to get to, and we'll do it. Let me give you a quick preview on what's coming up, then we'll zoom in for further detail. As you can see, we're going to Texas today. We got a TRO that was issued, and this is a case of the illegal aliens striking back. So yesterday, we covered several cases that said Trump had power that the lower court said he did not have, and the Supreme Court carved out a little bit of an exception for habeas. And now those ACLU gangbang lawyers are all filing everywhere, and we'll talk about two cases. One was in Texas. The other one occurred today out in New York, the Southern District of New York. Petition for habeas corpus, and they want a class petition so everybody is covered under their judge. So we'll go through it. We'll see what's happening in both of those situations. We've got a hearing that took place today, and Inner City Press was there. So we'll go inside and we'll see what happened from inside the courtroom. So that's always fun. Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee, of course, over there on X. We'll repost that when we get there. We got Hegseth coming up as a clip. And then we're turning our attention to the blue states, who have now lost another one. So these states came and they sued Trump in the District of Maryland. And there was a bunch of them. Look at them, like New Jersey, New Mexico. We had Arizona, Delaware, New York with Tish James, all suing, saying you can't fire these people, these probationary workers. And then they had a big complaint about it. And what happened is it went up on appeal, and the Court of Appeals came back down and said, sorry, Tish, put your shoes on and get out of here. Trump can fire these probationary workers. So the Fourth Circuit came back down and issued us a nice ruling that we'll go through today and see what is in there. So boo-hoo to blue states, and Tish had a rough day today. We'll talk about that, and we'll listen to this little psycho clip of Tish, who I don't know who she's talking about there. Nathan Wade, maybe? I don't know. So we'll come back to that. We also had, we'll get to it, of course, the tariff news, because there were a bunch of stuff, a bunch of clips from this one today. Trump came out, dropped the news on the tariffs. Obviously, we heard about that. So did the Dow. We also had a clip of a gaggle. Caroline Leavitt and Secretary Bessent came out. So we'll come back. We'll listen to them. We also had Trump come out with the race car drivers and talk about it. And we had the Dow surging 2,900 points. Woo, baby. Biggest gain since 2008. That's a lot. So good stuff. 2,900 points. Going up and up and up. Then, to round out the day, on top of all the fun, the president also issued some executive orders, and we'll go through them. They are eliminating relationships with this law firm, Sussman Godfrey Afuera, by going away. They sued Fox, it looks like. Oh, on behalf of Dominion. Oh, it's the Dominion law firm. The people representing Dominion who settled with Fox News. They just got Afuera right out of the government. Hope it was worth it. They also issued an order for this dude, Miles Taylor, saying he's cut off of all his security clearance. And so is this guy, Christopher Krebs. You remember him from CISA. They all got Afuera today in executive orders, and good riddance to them. So, bunch of good stuff to get to today, and we're very excited that you're here. We had an amazing members-only stream this morning. Housekeeping note, we're going to have one stream tomorrow and probably one stream on Friday. Your boy is going down to Phoenix, and there is a gentleman in our men's group who is going to be turning 80 years old. We're having a surprise party for him, so I'm going down there. I also have a friend who had a baby, so congratulations to my boy Paul and Jackie and their new boy Callan. So, of course, we're going to go visit them. So tomorrow and Friday, thank you for hitting the notification bell. We're going to schedule the shows. We'll have one stream, and it's going to be amazing. So we'll be down there, and we'll post some, some updates as we're down there. But that's the schedule change on the show notes. So some good stuff. All right, so the show will stay on track, but the schedule will change a little bit depending on my schedule. Thank you for understanding, and happy birthday to my friend. Don't tell him it's a surprise. He doesn't watch the show, I'm pretty sure. All right, so without any further ado, shout out to Membos. Membos, if you joined us today, we had a great members-only stream this morning. It was a ton of fun. And what do we talk about? Chuck Grassley and Jack Smith and their collusion. Yeah, wild. Total scammers. All right, so let's get into it now. We've got this situation where the ACLU and the gang members are striking back. The illegals strike back. They got new lawyers, and they always complain about how they don't have enough notice or time or money or resources. And poof, everywhere we turn, there are new lawsuits coming in to stop their removal from our country, even though they're here illegally. Now, this one came out of Texas, and previously we were talking about Judge Boasberg. We had the other cases where they were filing basically constitutional claims outside of the location where they were being housed, and the Supreme Court came back down and said, no, hello, you can only file where they're being housed. So they did, okay? The lawyers picked up, they raced back down to the Southern District of Texas, and they're in this dude's courtroom. And this dude is actually a Trump appointee. His name is Fernando Rodriguez, was appointed to the United States District Court for the Southern District of Texas, went to Yale, went to Texas, and other things. And before becoming a judge, he was working as a director of the Dominican Republic. And yeah, born 1969 and is now in charge in Texas. So what has happened is they filed in his courtroom, and he just ruled against Trump in America. So here's what happened. They sued, and he issued an order. This one came out today, fresh out of the oven, saying, all right, well, according to the class petition for writ of habeas corpus and class complaint, these petitioners, JAV, JGG, and WGH, this might be the same JGG from the Boasberg case, says are natives of Venezuela who are currently being held at El Valle Detention Center in Texas. Natives of Venezuela. What are they doing here? On March 14th, the president issued a proclamation saying all Venezuelan citizens 15 years of age or older who are members of Tren de Aragua are within the United States and are not naturalized or lawful residents are now to be apprehended and removed as alien enemies of this country. Bye. Now, petitioners, the people suing America, allege that on March 14th, respondents attempted to remove them. Trump tried to get them out of the United States based on the fact that they're Tren gang members. Now, the respondents will summarily remove them unless, court, you step in Texas. So filing their petition, we request that the court issue a TRO stopping Trump from removing these Venezuelans being held in Texas. Why? Well, based on the allegations in the petition, writes the judge, which is accompanied by sworn declaration from immigration counsel, lawyers for the alleged gangbangers, and solely for the purposes of determining the TRO, the judge finds the following. These three people, Jav, Jag, and Wigga, are natives of Venezuela who are currently being held in Texas. Great. No immigration court has issued a final order of removal against them. The respondents have attempted at least on one occasion to remove the three of them. So Trump tried to get him out of here. The judge says, here's what we know. Here are the facts. And so absent any other emergency relief, a substantial likelihood means that these people are going to get afueted out of here. So the judge says, well, I have jurisdiction over here to ensure that I can exercise it, and says the Supreme Court has also said, just recently, in fact, the Supreme Court just dropped this one out on April 7th, says this judge, that individuals who are being detained, like these people, must receive notice that they are subject to removal under the Act, and the notice must be afforded within a reasonable time and in such a manner as will allow them to actually seek habeas relief in the proper venue before the removal occurs, right? And that's what we saw from SCOTUS. Okay, so notice and enough time to file and to stop the removal. Got it. Now, in the present matter, The judge says, the court finds that the removal of these 3 people would cause immediate and irreparable injury to them, because if they leave, then they can't seek habeas relief. And furthermore, if the United States erroneously removed them, like they did in the Kilmar case, that Pam Bondi keeps saying it was an administrative error, even though he was deported back to his homeland, noting that they lack jurisdiction, right? Trump came out and said, well, once they're gone, they're gone. Like, we can't get them back. So the judge says, well, if that's the case, we've got to keep them. So the court finds that maintaining the status quo is now required to afford the parties the ability to develop a fuller record, for the court to consider the request for this injunction and as presented in the class petition, and to prevent immediate irreparable injury, right? They want to certify everybody. Again, it's not just these poor people. It's not like these 3 people are like, we're literally not gang members, okay? It's not them coming and saying, hey, they might be saying that, but what's ultimately happening is it's going way beyond them. It's so broad, it's encompassing everybody. They're all a class now, okay? Because that's what they really want, is these people not to leave. So every time they sell you a sob story about the barber who had just the tattoo on his face of the eye because he thought it looked cool or whatever was going on, just say, okay, well, why can't we just have a conversation about that person then? Why are you certifying a class of Tren de Aragua gangbangers in America? Why do you want that, ACLU? What's your end game? To prevent the immediate and irreparable injury, the court says, okay, so now we're going to do that and issue a temporary restraining order. So now it is ordered that Trump is hereby enjoined from transferring, relocating, removing, or doing anything with these people or any other persons that are in this Al Valley Detention Center. Okay, so now this judge's jurisdiction, it's not nationwide, so it's much more limited, but it's only from the Al Valley Detention Center. So guess what's going to happen? Everyone's going to go to a new detention center when they get arrested. Yeah, until that other detention center also gets added to the list. Now, respondents are enjoined from transporting such persons outside of the county without an order from the court, right? So my point is, they're not going to Texas for housing anymore. They're going to another county. This temporary restraining order shall expire on Tuesday, April 23rd. The court shall also hold a video conference this week on Friday, and we'll talk about other forms of relief. So let everybody know, don't put these people on airplanes. Signed by the judge, Fernando Rodriguez, out in Texas. So that happened. Now, they also then filed in the Southern District of New York. Now, these are being reframed as habeas petitions and as class actions. So the Supreme Court and the victory was mostly fleeting in practice. So they just refiled it. Now, in truth, it did stop the nationwide injunction. So that is a massive victory. Now they're much more limited jurisdictionally to certain geographic regions and to certain people who are located in those regions. But here is what the ACLU filed as well. So they sued here in the Southern District of New York. You see, this is a 22-pager. And again, it's all the ACLU people. It's wild, right? ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. Here, Foundation. Tons, all these lawyers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all listing their emails. Okay, 12 lawyers here on behalf of a couple gangbangers. Wild, from the ACLU. It's like, well, where were they for the January 6ers when our constitutional rights were being trampled all over during COVID or back during the investigation of the pro-lifers or the teachers' parents or any of those people? It's foreign gang members. Crazy, right? So anyways, they sued. They said, these are Venezuelan men, not even Americans, who are in immigration custody, and now they've been threatened with removal because they're illegal. They say this has only been brought up 3 times in our nation's history. 1812, World War I, and World War II. Saying Trump calls them gang members. But this has only been a power that's ever been invoked in war. Our country has been invaded for my whole life, basically, in rapid pace over the last 4 years. But they said Trump, pursuant to the proclamation, said, we're going to ferret these people out of here. You've got jurisdiction because they're being housed here. And here's the people. Okay, petitioner is GFF, 21-year-old, currently detained. He entered the United States in May 2024, just got here, after his family fled Venezuela, because of threats they faced from Tren de Aragua. Moreover, he has been threatened by the gang on account of his sexual orientation. He's probably gay, huh? He also fears persecution from Venezuelan state actors, including police and paramilitary groups, because of his sexual orientation and his gender nonconformity. Oh, it's a trans illegal. Incredible. No wonder the ACLU is going hog wild. Trans illegals. Got it. Yeah, they don't care about just regular old dudes. It's got to be a trans illegal. Got it. Wild. Okay, so after entering the United States, it's a he? Whoa, what's going on here? That sounds pretty gendered to me. So what is this nonconformity? I don't know what's going on here. All right, so pronouns are going to be debatable. You can debate the pronouns on your own. We'll just read what's written on the document, but it's debatable. Okay. GFF was arrested and detained in New York. Now, upon the detention of this person, Homeland filed a form identifying him as an associate of Tren. On March 9th, he was moved to another facility. March 14th, they told him, you're going to be deported. Now, because his immigration counsel alerted someone else, the ACLU, we got a restraining order from Boasberg's courtroom and then transferred him around. So this other person, JGO, let's see what status this person is, 32-year-old, also at risk. This person is under attack because of his political activism and was told to sign papers in English. He can't speak English because he broke into our country. His immigration lawyer alerted undersigned counsel, and they also got a hold. Amazing. So they pulled him off a plane before being deported, and now he's facing removal. So he's fearing torture, imprisonment, and death because he's a political activist. Okay. And then that's who we've got. So Trump is the president, obviously, who they're trying to undermine, and they sued, saying the AEA is being used without authority. Trump can only invoke this under certain things, and he can't use it to just deport people right out of the country. It was used again in World War II and was never used as a widespread method of removal. But Roosevelt used some of it. They say on December 7th, after the Japanese invaded Hawaii and attacked Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt proclaimed that Japan had perpetrated an invasion. The president issued regulations applicable to Japanese nationals living in the United States, and the next day Congress declared war. Then Roosevelt issued two separate proclamations stating an invasion and a predatory incursion had occurred, incorporated the same regulations that were already in effect. Then they declared war. Congress declared war against Hungary and others, and it was invoked against them too. Then the United States interned the non-citizens, Japan, Germany, Italy, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and U.S. citizens of Japanese descent, right? A gigantic stain on America. That was a sick time. Citizens. It was not until the end of the hostilities that the president provided for the removal of alien enemies from the United States under the AEA. On July 14, 1945, Truman issued a proclamation providing, this is what they're writing, ACLU, that alien enemies detained as a danger to public peace and safety shall upon order be subject to removal. Then the DOJ issued regulations laying out the removal. It never used widespread method of removal. And during all of that time, wow, incredible. So look at this amazing precedent here. What happened here? What they are admitting, which they're not going to want to do, they fast forward through it and they're like, well, then the immigration changed and we consolidated this. So see how sneaky they are? Hey, you know what this is? It's pretty damn good precedent for President Trump to declare an invasion, use his authority to house, Trump didn't house citizens in custody. These are non-citizens who are being ferreted out of here. Roosevelt housed citizens. All right. It was a sick thing to do. We would never obviously do that. But this is precedential for Trump. And what you'll notice is they even admit it. FDR's DOJ issued their regulations. They laid out the removal process. They didn't send it over to a judge and have a judge make that determination. Maybe they should have, especially with the U.S. citizens. I mean, anything like that was wild. But that's their hero, FDR. He threw citizens and locked them up in custody. And now they're saying that Trump has to go through a judge. Even his DOJ didn't do that. They laid out their own internal rules and regulations, and they processed the people themselves because Congress gave them that power under the law. Now, in addition to laying out the process by which the government determines this, the INA enshrines humanitarian protection. Okay, so all of that precedent has been usurped by congressional statute, and now they have to follow the rules, right? So the ACLU sends this in, we get it. Let's see what they're asking for. Here, in conclusion, they say, yeah, once again, if these people are innocent, if the trans alien who identifies however that person identifies is under attack in Venezuela, then we can litigate that person. If the political activist is under attack, we can litigate that person. That's not what they're asking for, because these are just excuses. They're just finding somebody that the judge will say, oh no, a trans immigrant. Oh no. So they want you to certify this action as a class action. So all of the gang members can stay. They want to grant a TRO to preserve the status quo, so Trump cannot use the proclamation at all. They want to enjoin the respondents from transferring these people out of this district, and would be everybody else. They want it as a class. Grant a writ of habeas corpus that stops them from removing them pursuant to the proclamation, and stop them from using this proclamation, declare that unlawful, and give us attorney's fees as well, because the gang member ACLU lawyers want to get paid by America. They're literally suing America. It's wild times. So all of these people, Galendo, Lee Glorant, Ashley Gorski, Omar, Hina, Patrick, Sidra, Mai Khan, Oscar Sarabia Roman, Noel Smith, all these people from the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, representing gangbangers and suing America, asking for attorney's fees. So they're filing that, and there was a hearing that took place today. And here's what it sounded like in front of Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein. We saw that our friend Matthew Russell Lee was in court today, and he was reporting on what went down. He says, I'm in there. The ACLU Enemies Act case, which is now in the Southern District of New York, and he reports out of there. We just reboosted this at the top of our timeline, so make sure you give him a follow. He says, judge comes in, all rise. All right. Yes. All right. Please be seated. Judge Hellerstein comes out, takes the bench. He says, all right, listen, ACLU, we're going to start with you today. Why should a federal district judge have to hear each one of these cases, right? FDR threw a bunch of people in. They had regulations internally. Why can't we just have somebody from the executive branch just read it, verify, and stamp off on it, which is due process, by the way. Remember, the other side wants lawyers. They want to hire like public defenders. They want to give them a Holiday Inn and a Costco card and a hotel in New York and everything that they want. And that's due process because they're oppressed. And if they don't have representation and time and all the things, then they're going to get attacked by Venezuelan bigots who hate trans aliens. So the ACLU says, Your Honor, well, the administration is here saying the Alien Enemies Act overrides the immigration courts. And that's not how that works, okay? And during World War II, when FDR was detaining people, they had a right to go to court too back then. So, says, look at Judge Henderson's ruling in the D.C. Circuit, Judge, also. We're asking Your Honor to construe this to see, does a gang even qualify under the Alien Enemies Act? Like, it should be like for armed soldiers, uniformed. The judge says, well, is this terrorist organization a foreign government? I don't know. He says the Supreme Court didn't decide on that one. He says they ducked that one. They didn't really give us that answer, did they? They just sent it back down to Judge Boasberg. ACLU says, well, I don't think they ducked it, Judge. I think they kind of just said they wasn't. Well, Judge Hellerstein says, well, this is an age of terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah, says the judge, Hellerstein. So they're all over the place. Hamas and Hezbollah like they're pseudo organizations and they're terrorists. So I don't have to reach that question unless someone says that they are a member of the gang. Does any one of your clients say that they are a member of the gang? Like, no. We just like tattoos because they look cool. The judge says, well, I'm not sure 30 days notice is appropriate. Like you're saying, we have to give them 30 days and then they need 30 days to go find a lawyer and file a habeas petition and all this. Like, I'm not sure that's appropriate. Well, that's what was given during World War II, says the ACLU. Okay, but you're not asking for a nationwide class, right? Because I don't have jurisdiction over the nation. So just the SDNY, just the Southern District of New York, just people who are housed here, right? And the right respondent is the warden in Orange County. So why wouldn't it just be a class in that county to make my ruling stand? Like, so Southern District of New York is much bigger than any individual county. So why should it be all of SDNY? ACLU says, well, as long as we get sufficient notice, Your Honor. And the proclamation from Trump makes clear that they are not arguing the gang is the Venezuelan government. They're not saying that. Well, the judge says, well, there's a good argument that there is no effective Venezuelan government. I mean, is there a government? We don't know. ACLU says, well, they are authoritarian. That's true. That's why our trans aliens have to come here. Says, well, what did the Supreme Court mean by limited judicial review? What do you think that they meant by that when they put it in there? Like limited judicial review. Somebody has to look at it. Does it mean like a judicial process? Does it mean an administrative law judge? Does it mean an immigration judge? What does it mean? What's the source of this? Government, Mr. Ensign? Drew Ensign from Trump DOJ says, Your Honor, well, let's start with class, okay? As the Supreme Court has limited it, and they've limited it, they have failed to numerosity, right? Class, you have to have commonality, numerosity, certain other things that class action lawyers know. Says, and let's start with class. Now, as they've limited it, it fails on numerosity. They've got two defendants here. They've got the trans alien and the activist. ICE tells us there's at most 10 Venezuelans that might be here, so it's just not enough people to be a class. The judge says, well, 10 could be. I mean, if there's 10, that could be enough for a class. And many people do like to come to New York because we give them a bunch of free crap here. Government says, well, the requirements of Rule 23 are not met, so it can't be a class. And they have to establish it's a class. Based on the evidence here, there's two people. It's not a class. Well, I don't agree, says the judge. I actually think it could two plus whoever else is out there. So I think it could be a class. And if you don't like that decision, then you can move to decertify it. Well, Your Honor, if a person is a gang member, a TDA member, that's an individual determination. Like we look at them one by one. It's not a class action. So you can't stop us on all of them. We look at them one by one. Okay. So it's not a class action. And the Supreme Court only ruled Monday night. So we're here. We're going to provide a new notice to everybody and give them time. Well, we won't know what the numerosity is and how many other gang bangers are there until you provide a report. Well, Your Honor, they've already filed another class action in the Southern District of New York, the one that we just read minutes ago. The judge says, well, I don't care what's going on down there. This is New York. And says, well, people can challenge, all of these individual people said they can challenge on their own. If they're not members of Tren de Aragua, that they can challenge that, but they can do that individually. They can't form a class action of gang members and sue. The judge says, well, I agree about that. Yeah, of course they can sue. They can go individually, but I still think an injunction is appropriate. The government says, Your Honor, we disagree. Okay, Roosevelt and Truman, they set up administrative processes and they did it on their own. Even the ACLU admitted it. We just read it. It's not subject to judicial review. During World War II, when their lover boy FDR was doing it, he did it on his own. He didn't have judges doing it. The judge says, well, the ACLU says 30 days is appropriate. That's for notice. And I think it should be a notice and a hearing before they go. So now they get a hearing with the judge, even though their lover boy FDR didn't do that. So I have jurisdiction of this now, says the judge. Anyone covered can come before me. Now, I agree now, no preliminary injunction, but I can issue a TRO until April 22nd, and I'll issue a TRO today. So the judge grants that. ACLU says, Your Honor, ICE is also on Rikers Island. Do you have jurisdiction there? Well, who would be the respondent there, right? So ICE is saying, don't. They're looking around on Rikers too. So don't let them get the gang members out of there. ACLU lawyers, cover this jail and this jail. So you want the TRO extended there? Yeah. Mr. Ensign? Well, Your Honor, they haven't named the right warden over there. And the same director, is he a party? Yeah, that's fine. We can name the Rikers custodian. And it looks like that's the final takeaway, courtesy of Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press. So that took place there. So it sounds like the aliens who are being held in habeas, or in detention, file habeas there. Judge sounds like he's going to require 30 days notice and a full hearing for them before they get deported. And we'll see what this judge does. So thanks for subscribing and joining as our coverage on this one continues. Now, here was Hegseth, who came out and posted this one today, which was a very curious statement saying, the United States will do whatever is necessary to achieve 100% operational control of our border, which I think is an admission that we currently do not have 100% operational control of our borders. And if that is true, then who does?
Serious threats that require a serious response. First, the United States will do whatever is necessary to achieve 100% operational control of our borders. Simply put, border security is national security, something President Trump has and continues to deliver on. Border security in every country in this region is a shared challenge and must be a shared priority for all of us.
So if we're not in control, who's in control of the border? Maybe the ACLU knows. All right, so we're going to carry on, my friends. We've got another nice win from the president. While the ACLU is going hog wild, we have this story that just popped. Yep, here it is. The blue states lose again. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals came back down and just said, sorry, Arizona. Sorry, Colorado, Jenna Griswold. Sorry, New York, Tish James having a rough one, and everybody else, including Michigan and Big Gretch Rona. All of them now losing. You remember that they sued basically everybody: agriculture, commerce, DOD, education, HHS, everybody. And they said, you can't fire these probationary employees because it's going to hurt our states. They dropped this big whiny screed. They filed this some time ago, back in early March. 55-pager. You see all of these states they sued, crying, 55 pages, saying, we're sovereign states. You can't fire these people. And they sued to get them back in. And of course, the many lower court judges were saying, yeah, hire them back, bring them back. Probationary employees cannot be fired, and said that this was a reduction in force and it was illegal. And ultimately, when you fast forward to the end of it, here's what the blue states were demanding. They said, all right, here's what we want. They want you, the court, to declare Trump's termination of the probationary employees to be unlawful and set aside and bring back the fired employees and say these mass terminations can't happen, and provide a status report and give them back their title and grade and all the things, right? Undo everything. Well, this battled back and forth, and today the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals spoke. Here's what they said. April 9th, 2025, Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals coming back down, and they tell the following. They say, pending before the court is Trump's motion for a stay pending appeal. We had 19 blue states, from Tish to Gretch to Chris Mays to all of them, sued 41 defendants, which are all executive departments from Trump's administration. So 19 states suing Trump. They allege, the blue states, the government violated the law. You can't fire thousands of probationary federal employees. There's a specific RIF, a reduction in force process that you have to go through. Now, the district court agreed with the states and entered an injunction that required Trump to reinstate the employees who work and reside in their states and stop firing people from the lower court. But the government now asks us, Trump, to stay that injunction. They say, what? Hey, states, hello. Trump says you don't have standing to challenge the terminations and that the lower level court lacked jurisdiction over it, saying if you want to sue, if these fired employees want to sue, they have to file in another court. You can't sue here. Trump said that's the exclusive venue for you. Go over there. So the Fourth Circuit says, you know, having reviewed the record here and the lower court judge's opinions and the briefings, we agree with Trump and the government that it has satisfied the factors for a stay, saying the government is likely to succeed, saying the lower level court lacked jurisdiction over their claims. Oh, you're kidding. And the government is unlikely to recover the funds dispersed to any reinstated probationary employees. They're not getting that money back. And when we ask for an injunction bond to say, hey, make them post some money up. So if Trump wins, the American taxpayer doesn't get thieved out of millions of dollars, probably much more than that. They said no. And judges are saying, well, how about $100 nominal bond? What? Okay, Judge. Thanks for making it so obvious how biased you are. So the Supreme Court has stayed a similar preliminary injunction that we read earlier this week that came out of California, and how successful that was. And so the Court of Appeals, Fourth Circuit, says we therefore grant Trump's motion for a stay, and the clerk will set an expedited briefing schedule. So the employees are now fired again. Fired, rehired, fired, rehired. Just go find another job, okay? Leave us alone. We don't want your civil service anymore. Get out. All right, so there were some dissents here, and let's hear from these whiners. Deandra, here's what Deandra said. The district court entered a well-reasoned memo, and for the reasons I would deny Trump's motion. She says the Clates clearly have standing to challenge the process. Oh my gosh. So this is that dumb nuance that they've been trying to say. No. We're not challenging the firings. We're challenging the process that led to the firings. Oh, okay. So if we undo the process, that means we just rehire the people? Exactly. So they weren't, it's not like you're not forcing a rehiring. You're just canceling the firing. Get it? So here, to prove a personal stake, this judge is going to say, so they've got standing. It's an injury, and the district court distinguished this other case. Remember? Yeah, so that was U.S. versus Texas. I don't remember exactly what that one was. Okay, incarceration and more. So we just had one dissent. Looks like they joined. So anyways, blue states lose. Goodbye and good night. Now, we'll see if they appeal, if they want to take this up to the Supreme Court. This was only coming out of the Fourth Circuit. As we know, Tish has totally lost it out there now that her little scam to try to imprison and bankrupt the president both failed. Here is what she sounds like out there in America.
Again, I apologize. Listen, 57 years after the assassination of Dr. King, and Dr. King talked about that stone of hope. And it's that stone of hope that gives me a fire in my belly each and every morning. It's that stone of hope that allows me to wake up and to stand to Donald Trump and to say, Donald Trump, I'm not afraid of you. It's that stone of hope. It's that stone of hope that gives me power that's that stone
Power.
of hope and the belief in each and every one of you to let you know that I'm not going to allow my ancestors, all of those who died for me to be in this position, I am not going to disgrace them and disappoint them. I am going to use the law both as a sword and as a shield and challenge Donald Trump. And each and every time he issues an illegal executive order, I am going to stand up to him because he represents.
She had to insert illegal. An illegal executive order. We know it's going to be every executive order. Okay, so that goes on for much longer. But we have IQ points to preserve here. She lost again. Maybe you should stop going to your little press conferences and work on understanding the law, and you'll win more lawsuits. But we're happy that you're losing them because we're trying to save the country. Stop suing to undermine the will of the American people. All right, so that's Tish. Now let's continue on. We got tariffs and we got executive orders coming down the pike. And maybe we should start with the executive orders and hit here because the other ones are a little bit clip heavy. And while we're here, we wanted to see if they publish these. Come on, Mr. President, did you do it? Let's see, April 9th, American energy, defense sales, water pressure, huge news. We'll get there. Man, we're going to have such good showers. Our hair is going to be so clean. It's going to be amazing. All right, so let's talk about it. We've got new executive orders from Trump. The president issued new executive orders, and Chris Krebs, you remember this fella over from CISA, got hit with one. Not just him. Other people who are very anti-Trump, maybe even criminal, says the president, also got hit. This person, Miles Taylor, and another law firm is getting a fuetada from the government. Sussman Godfrey, the law firm that got a $700 million settlement by suing Fox News on behalf of Dominion, now got hit with another EO. And so some good developments here. We'll come back to what the president said on this, but a quick reminder on who these folks were. So Miles Taylor is an author, a commenter, somebody who worked for Trump and then basically left. In 2018, he wrote an op-ed under an anonymous name, right? In 2018. Says, I'm part of the resistance inside the Trump administration. Drew widespread attention, criticized Trump. Then after quitting the administration, then he published the book, right? He's like an inside mole. Then he revealed in October 2020, I'm anonymous, and then campaigned against Trump. So he was like a internal operative inside the government. Chief of Staff of Homeland Security, writing articles and publishing them. Okay, the anonymous dude. He was the first former Trump administration official to oppose Trump's reelection. CNN referred to the dissenters as former top officials, and he's an advisor now, and so on. Okay, he's about to get talked about by the president. Then Trump is also going to refer to this fella, Christopher Cox Krebs, Chris Krebs. And he was the guy who was running CISA. And after 2020, he came back and he was all over the media, screaming about how secure and safe the election was. We know that he said all the time that there was no evidence of foreign interference in the elections and all this stuff. And we're all scratching our heads. We're like, yep, okay, maybe not foreign, but did you check the FBI that was clearly interfering with the election? Did you look at Elvis Chan's emails? That's a good place to start. Did you look at any of the so-called CIA intelligence experts that were running an operation to give Joe Biden talking points for the debate and to pull the wool over America? Did you look at any of those there, Chris? No, he never did. They didn't look into any of those things. They didn't care. The feds didn't investigate it at all. The election was rigged at the state level and at the legal level by guys like Mark Elias. So we've talked a lot about that, but Trump talks about them. Of course, this other law firm got hit. They were suing Fox. They were waging war against Trump, ultra lefty law firm. And got $700 million for Dominion. So the president came out today, signed executive orders, hitting all of them, and here's what it sounded like.
Sir, you've taken action against a number of law firms that have in one way or another been involved in the weaponization of government or actions of lawfare. One of those law firms is Sussman Godfrey, similar to what we've done previously with other law firms. This is an executive order that takes certain measures against Sussman Godfrey to ensure that they can't access government resources, government buildings, scrutinizing certain aspects of their practices as a law firm, given their previous activities.
We signed with many law firms, the ones that we thought were inappropriate, and they've all agreed to pay $1 million. They went for some pretty big numbers. I guess we have a total. What do we have? What's the total about? What's the total right now, Steve? About,
probably
would you say?
600 million.
Getting close to probably 600-700 million now,
Yeah.
I would think. We've multiple at 100 million, some at 125 million. So the numbers are adding up. We're going to be close to $1 billion soon.
One at $40 million, millions of dollars an hour. But they don't admit guilt. Remember that, they don't admit guilt.
No, they don't.
But and we have another 5 to go, I think, 5 of them. And this one is we're just starting a process with this one.
Yes, sir.
Because there were some very bad things that happened with these law firms.
Yep.
And this firm is very involved in the election misconduct.
Weren't they all involved in the election?
Many of them were.
Yes.
Anyway, so they went from $40 million to $125 million, and most of them are at about $100 million. Right? All right. Thank you.
Nicely done, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. The next presidential memorandum we have for you relates to Miles Taylor. You may recall that Miles Taylor served in the Department of Homeland Security during your previous administration. In his capacity with the Department of Homeland Security, he leaked classified information. He wrote a book under the pseudonym Anonymous, making outrageous claims both about your administration and about others in it. What this presidential memorandum is going to do, one, it's going to strip any active clearance that he has in light of his past activities involving classified information. It's also going to order the Department of Justice to investigate his activities to see what else might come up in that context, given his egregious behavior during your previous administration.
And I had no idea who this guy was. I had no idea.
Just
I
wanted
saw
to
him
sell
on
some
CNN,
books.
or one of them, I guess CNN, a lot. He'd be on all the time saying that the president is the president. I had no idea. It's like, you know, in this office you have a lot of young people, and they're here. I'll see him for 2 minutes, and I assume he was in the office, but I barely remember him. Barely remember him. It was somebody that went out and wrote a book and said all sorts of terrible things that were all lies, and it was like he was this gentleman or that gentleman, like I dealt with him all the time. I had no idea who this guy. I said, who the hell is Miles Taylor?
A lot of that
And he
going
made a
on out
living
there.
going on CNN talking about the president. And I think what he did, he wrote a book, Anonymous, said all sorts of lies, bad things. And I think it's like a traitor. Like it's like spying. He walks into
Yeah.
the office. He's supposed to be sitting here. A lot of people, you know, I'll be here, and there'll be 20 people standing in the room. There'll be oftentimes young people in the office. I assume he was one of them at least. But I didn't know anything about him. And he wrote a book, Anonymous, and I always thought it was terrible. And now we have a chance to find out whether or not it was terrible. But it was a work of fiction. Had a lot of publicity. Got himself a nice job with CNN, or one of them. And I think we have to do something about it. You can't have that happen. If that happens to other presidents, it wouldn't be sustainable for other presidents. I seem to be able to sustain. But if that happened to other presidents, I mean, it's just unfair. And if it was a Democrat president, I'd say that's a terrible thing. A thing like that can happen. That's a terrible thing. And it's time to find out whether or not somebody can do that. Can they write a book about very confidential meetings, and because they happen to be one of a lot of people in a room, and they go out and write a book, and worse than that, call it anonymous, like it's a big deal, and everybody's saying, who is it, who is it, who is it? Then it was found out who he was long time later, and he got a lot of publicity off that one. He's like a promoter.
Yep.
But we're going to find out whether or not somebody's allowed to do that. I think it's a very important case, and I think he's guilty of treason, if you want to know the truth. But we'll find out. And I assume we're recommending this to the Department of Justice.
Yes, sir.
Pam Bondi. Got a recommendation.
Okay, good. Terrible guy.
Terrible guy. And a quick recap on that is this person right here. So his name is Miles Taylor. The president just said thinks he's guilty of treason. Was an appointee of Trump's in Homeland. DHS wrote a whole book about this. Guy's name is called Miles Taylor, and now got succeeded by Chad Mizell, who's doing an awesome job over there. But he was actually appointed by Trump. Then he came in. He's like anonymous insurrectionist, essentially, inside. Jake Tapper, all of them love this dude up. And he tried to make a career and a life out of it. Hope it was worth it. So that is going to Pam Bondi now, which means for an investigation, which means Miles Taylor's probably pretty safe. Not going to have to worry about any charges coming his way. But the next person coming up is Chris Krebs. You remember him, CISA. We had a lot of clips of this dude back during 2020 saying everything was perfect. Everything was incredible. And it was the most safe and secure election. There's no evidence of any interference and blah, blah, blah. We remember him. And he was paraded around as well, signing a bunch of letters, going on the cable shows, saying that everything was incredible and great. Well, he is coming next.
Similarly, sir, Christopher Krebs, the former head of CISA. This is a man who weaponized his position against free speech in the election context, in the context of COVID-19. This is it's a similar presidential memorandum to the one you just signed. It addresses his access to government, existing clearances he might have, and further instructs your Department of Justice, other aspects of your government, to investigate some of the malign acts that he participated in while he was still head of CISA.
This is another one. I don't know that I met him. I'm sure I met him, but I didn't know him. And he came out right after the election, which was a rigged election, a badly rigged election. We did phenomenally in that election. Look what happened to our country because of it. Open borders, millions of people coming into our country. Russia and Ukraine, that would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. Afghanistan, the way that they withdrew with 13 dead, but so many killed, actually. I mean, so many killed outside of the 13 soldiers, hundreds of people killed. And maybe, I don't know, never mentioned, but I mentioned it, 42 or 43 people so badly injured, the legs, the arms, blown off, the face. And this is all because of an incompetent group of people that preceded us, and that would have never happened. And this guy Krebs was saying, oh, the election was great, it was great. Well, it's been proven that it was not only not great. When you look at all these lawyers and law firms that are signing, giving us hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, why is that?
It was proven by so many different ways in so many different forms, from the legislatures not approving to the 51 intelligence agents that worked from all of the different scamming operations. FBI. It was a very corrupt election. They used COVID to cheat. And we're going to find out about this guy, too, because this guy's a wise guy. He said, we've been proved this is the most secure election in the history of our country. Now, this was a disaster. And frankly, we should go to paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID, and one other thing, you should get a little certificate that says you're a citizen of our country. You get a citizen piece of paper that says you're a citizen before you can vote. But you want voter ID and you want paper ballots, and you really want same-day voting. If you don't have same-day voting, they decide to change the air conditioner. Oh, we're fixing the air conditioner. Let's move all these boxes. We'll bring them back in a few days. and then they don't bring back those boxes. We got to have safe elections. We have to have borders. Ideally, we have to have a free press, which we don't have. We don't have a free press. We have a very dishonest press. This is an honor. We're going to find out whether or not he was right. This was a disgraceful election, and this guy sat back saying, well, I'm a member, or like he's a Republican or something, and almost right from the beginning, and he's trying to make the case that this election was a safe election. I think he said, this is the safest election we've ever had. And yet, every day you read in the papers about more and more fraud that's discovered. He's the fraud. He's a disgrace. So we'll find out whether or not it was a safe election. And if it wasn't, he's got a big price to pay. And he's a bad guy. Here's another one. I have no idea who he is. Krebs. I have no idea who he is. I'm sure he was in the room at some point, just like you're all in the room, but I have no idea who he was. So thank you very much. Those last two are very important, I think, for the country.
Thank you, sir.
Very important. These are for accountability. We're happy the president signed it. So good developments there. We're going to see what they say about it. They might be suing, right? You might see this other law firm sue, just like Perkins Coie is suing, and there's a lot of activity on those cases as well. The Perkins Coie people have a bunch of people coming in, law professors and former government people and, little old ladies who volunteer and raise puppies. They're all coming in. Don't do this to Perkins. So we'll see what comes next. President Trump issuing executive orders everywhere we turn. And the best one, probably the most shocking one for Democrats, is that showers are now going to be much stronger. We know how much they hate them. You can just imagine what George Conway and Mark Elias smell like. It would make you vomit for a month. But Trump now signing another executive orders. We're getting high flow showers back. Low flow showers are for communists, and we're not living under this tyranny anymore.
Next up, sir, we have a series of executive orders and a memorandum all relating to deregulation, which has obviously been a major priority of your administration. The first of these is an executive order. The Biden administration launched what you've called a war on showers. They had certain regulations that basically killed the water pressure of showers and other water appliances.
They want everybody to stink with them.
You can say it. Go ahead. What are the appliances?
I mean, it's everything, sir. It's
dishwashers,
toilets, sinks. But the shower heads are a huge deal.
There's no water. You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real-deal shower head, they should have the ability to get one.
They don't. Nobody does.
You buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on.
Ridiculous.
They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers when no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair.
Yeah.
And I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. So it's the same water.
Turn the water on.
And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized. We're going to try and get all of these things, including straws, a little thing like straws. We did straws a month ago where the paper straws were melting. They were dissolving. They weren't working well. And we went back to the plastic straws. We're going to get Congress to memorialize just about everything we've done here, because most of it's common sense. But the water is horrible. When you go into anytime you see a new faucet, you know it's going to be a long wash of the hands. And so we're changing it. It's a big deal. I did it in the first administration. Biden came in his first week, and he had no idea what he was doing, but somebody told him to do it. In his first week, he put the restrictions on all the bathroom utilities.
That person should be deported.
Even in areas that have so much water, they don't know what to do with it. You see those areas all the time with the flooding. So we're doing that, and we're going to get all of the things that you've seen. I think we set a record. We're up to almost 200 and 500 amendments. Nobody's ever done that many. We're going to get them approved by Congress, so they're memorialized. And we look forward to doing that. It's very important. And Congress is going to start working on it as soon as we get the big, beautiful deal done. The big, beautiful deal is important. The biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, that's important.
Democrats reeling in pain right now. Thousands of stinky blue Democrats crying right now. No! We hate water pressure.
It's a good shower.
That's good. Yeah, rinse them off. Maybe they'll be much happier. Maybe that's their problem. Maybe that's why they're so miserable. Because everybody they know just stinks. Their life stinks. Their whole household stinks. They just need a good shower. Just rinse off. You'll be happier. You'll like more freedom. You'll like free speech again. You'll care about your country and your fellow man. It'll be great. Just go rinse off, for crying out loud. All right, so good executive orders. We're waiting for more to come. All right, now the big news on the day, of course, was the tariff saga. And here is what happened today. The tariff endgame. President Trump is here with a new update, and he dropped this today that caused the markets to go bananas. We saw that CNBC was reporting that the Dow surged 2,900 points, the biggest gain since 2008. Whoa. And so they had live updates for us. It was a whirlwind of a day, but Scott Bessent came out. He said China's in big trouble. They done goofed. And the president took some questions on this today as well with the race car drivers out in front of the White House. But it all started with this post from Trump. He said, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125%, effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Signed by the president. Now, that set off a total whirlwind. As we saw, the S&P skyrocketed almost 10%, the biggest one-day gain since 2008. Things are all over the place. 30 billion shares traded hands. Trump said the pause is coming out. Scott Bessent clarified that all countries except China would go back down to a 10% baseline, down from the higher rates that sent everybody nuts. There was a lot of pressure, and last night things were wild on the markets. If you were following the 10-year Treasury, gosh, it was crazy. It kept going up and up and up. So there's some people saying, well, maybe this was some pressure. Maybe this was them buckling. China was doing things. Japan was doing things. But now the stocks are ripping, as you can see. That's what the chart looked like on the day. Let's go. So good developments there. Now, we also had reaction. The president made the post, and then the media came in with a bunch of questions. And here is this. And the camera angles and other things get better as we go through this.
Trump is going to punch back harder. In that same vein, we have had more than 75 countries from around the world reach out to President Trump and his team here at the White House to negotiate better trade deals for the American worker. We have been overwhelmed with the amount of requests from countries around the world. I'll let the Secretary speak to that. We will continue with the tailor-made negotiations that I spoke about yesterday. In the meantime, there will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff. The Secretary here has been a huge part of the President's trade team, of course, and will continue to lead these negotiations moving forward, to look out for the American worker, which is always President Trump's goal. So I'll kick it over to our great Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent.
Good, thank you. And we saw the successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today. It has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. And what we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago, in this very spot, not retaliate, and will be rewarded. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff for them, and China will be raised to 125 due to their insistence on escalation.
Is this are you backing down? Secretary, thank you for doing this. Let me ask you three quick things, if I could, just for the sake of clarity, because the markets are open and they're wondering. First of all, Mexico and China, are they part of this 10% universal?
Well, China,
Mexico and Canada, are they part of the 10%?
Yes.
Okay. Second, given then that you have the rest of the world essentially calling it, it's not China, is this now just all about China?
It's about bad actors, and what we will see is some of the very early countries are China's neighbors. That we're going to see. I'm seeing Vietnam today. Japan's at the front of the queue. South Korea, India. So we will see. And as I repeatedly said, and President Trump has been saying it for years, China is the most imbalanced economy in the history of the modern world, and they are the biggest source of the U.S. trade problems. And indeed, they are a problem for the rest of the world, because what we've seen is that as the U.S. announced the tariff wall last week, many of those goods...
We are going to swap feeds on that because that video is pretty terrible. Let's see if this one is any better. We had, I think they caught everybody by surprise today when they came out. So like
as the U.S. announced the tariff wall last week, many of those goods have already started flooding into Europe.
So as you see it now, this trade war is China versus the rest of the world?
Well, I'm not calling it a trade war, but I'm saying that China has escalated, and President Trump responded very courageously to that, and we are going to work on a solution with our trading partners.
If I could just, excuse me, Raquel, if I could just add to what the Secretary said. Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business. And as the president has shown great courage, as the Secretary has said, in choosing to retaliate against China even higher. Elena, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Treasury Secretary Bessent. Can you explain more of the decision-making on what feels like a reversal here? I mean, just these went into effect less than 15 hours ago, these tariffs. Why the pause now? What led to that?
No. Again, President Trump created maximum negotiating leverage for himself, and which tariffs went into effect 15 hours ago? The ones that we have lowered went into effect a week ago. They were announced a week ago, and we've just been overwhelmed by the response from mostly our allies who want to come and negotiate in good faith. So we are expecting them to come with their best deal. As I said a week ago today, don't retaliate, hold your ground, let's see what happens. And China kept escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
Mr. Secretary, go ahead. Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for doing this. The 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs, is that because of the whiplash that we've been seeing across the financial markets? How much was, what we saw in the stock markets, a part of this decision?
No, it's because because of the large number of inbounds. We've had more than 75 countries contact us, and I imagine after today there will be more. So it is just a processing problem. Each one of these solutions is going to be bespoke. It is going to take some time, and President Trump wants to be personally involved. So that's why we're getting the 90-day pause.
Mr. Secretary, there was a tweet that you and Secretary Leavitt were in the Oval Office with the President talking about this. Can you talk about what that conversation was like and what you guys said to one another that led to this decision?
Look, it's all the President's decision, and the President had a level in mind to raise the China tariffs, and then he had the 3-month pause in mind, and we were discussing the exact wording. Sorry? Of course.
It's the president's decision.
It's the president's decision. It was the president's decision to wait until today. And again, as I've said in the past, no one creates leverage for himself like President Trump.
Mr. Secretary.
Shelby, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, what does the president want to see by this, I think it's July 9th, deadline to keep things paused? Is it just trade barriers coming down, or is it more than that?
These are trade negotiations, but if countries want to come and offer other things, I talked about yesterday that we are thinking about a big LNG project in Alaska that South Korea, Japan, Taiwan are interested in financing and taking a substantial portion of the offtake. But again, in essence, that is trade because it will decrease the trade deficit that we have with those countries. So everything's on the table.
Raquel, go ahead.
Secretary, a clarification on the pause. What happened to those countries who just had 10% baseline tariffs, like Brazil and others? Are they still going to have this 90-day pause? Because you were saying that there will be a tariff of 10% for others. So what happened to those who just had a 10%?
Yeah, that's going to remain.
And do you call this an embargo to China?
Pardon?
You call this an embargo to China, a trade embargo?
I'm not sure what you mean by the word embargo.
125% tariffs, like those, and then impose 84%. Isn't this an embargo?
Well, it's not. It's China's decision that we have the deficit with them. They sell us almost 5 times what we sell them. So again, I think it's an own goal by China.
Mr. Secretary,
Meredith.
Mr. Secretary, with this, does this signal that you're confident that you're going to be able to strike a satisfactory deal with all these 75 nations that approach you?
It signals that President Trump cares about trade and that we want to negotiate in good faith. And as I said, each one of these is going to be a separate, bespoke negotiation. So we are confident that having seen the other side of where this could go, and it was like I said last week, the market didn't understand. Those were maximum levels. The countries can think about those levels as they come to us to bring down their tariffs, their non-tariff trade barriers. We're going to discuss currency manipulation, subsidy of labor, and industry.
Secretary, as far as you, will the pause also apply to the sectoral tariffs that the president has announced, pharma, lumber, anything else?
No, it's on the reciprocal.
So those will still be coming here soon, right? Mr.
Correct.
Secretary, as far as the negotiations with the 75
Andrea, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, so I want to ask you about what you're doing here. So the market is reacting crazily, right?
I haven't seen it.
Do you think that this move is going to change and calm down the market reaction?
What?
Do you think the markets have tanked, right? There's been a lot of volatility in the market, not just in terms of stock markets, but also in terms of bonds. So will this move in your mind, do you anticipate that this is going to calm the markets down?
Well, I think what we've seen, I think the willingness by more than 75 countries to come and negotiate, I think now the market understands that everything they saw last Wednesday was a ceiling, and now we have a 10% temporary floor, and I think the market my 35 years in the market, I always wanted certainty, so I think we've got more certainty.
But Mr. Secretary,
Maggie, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, why do people assume this is the last word? The president began this morning saying, be cool. 5 hours later, he announces a new policy. Why will investors in the market assume that this is it?
Because, again, as I said, we've given 90 days, and the only certainty we can provide is that the U.S. is going to negotiate in good faith, and we assume that our allies will too. And in terms of certainty, we will see what China does. But what I'm certain of is that what China is doing will affect their economy much more than it will ours, because they have an export-driven, flood the world with cheap export models.
Yeah, we're sick of it.
The rest of the world now understands, because when we put up our tariff wall, those exports were already flowing to the rest of the G7 and to the global South.
And you think
Mr. Secretary, how much of this decision was driven by the bond market cratering overnight? What is happening on China selling their bonds?
I have nothing that says that, and we actually had quite a good 10-year auction today, and all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along, and that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors, and we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate, things will turn out well.
What's your message to the Politico article saying that the countries were getting
negotiations with these 75 countries? How long will that take? Will it be a matter of weeks? Will it be a matter of months? Do you expect financial markets to be stable during that time period?
Well, we've started with a 90-day pause, and we will see if more countries turn up, what will happen. But we have a meeting with Vietnam today, and we have one of the largest trade deficits with them, so I'm hoping it will move in a good direction. I was at the Japanese ambassador's house last night for the Cherry Blossom Festival, which was quite festive, and he and I had a good chat. They are going to send a deal team over, so we'll see. These are complicated negotiations. These are imbalances that have taken decades to create. But I think, having seen the maximum level that Donald Trump is willing to go to, President Trump has created this negotiating leverage.
Excuse me, everybody. Excuse me. The secretary is obviously a very busy man. As he has said, he's had more than 75 countries that the trade team has to respond to. I'd just like to end with this. For decades, Republicans and Democrats have said that these unfair trade practices are ripping off the American people, are ripping off our country, but nobody has ever done anything to address it. We finally have a president here at the White House who is playing the long game, who is doing what is right for the American worker and our industries here at home, and he has put together a fantastic team in Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lustnick, the entire trade team, who will be focusing on negotiating these good deals to put the American workers first, and we're going to get to work to do that. Thank you.
What about the EU? What about the EU? They retaliated this morning. Why aren't they being treated like China?
Why is not the EU being treated like China? They retaliated this morning? Oh, they did? Well, they better walk that back. Maybe they're like, oh, crap, and they're going to walk that back. We'll see, of course, what happens. Scott has a lot of work to do. And Trump came out and brought the race car drivers out, and he took some questions after he was with them for a little bit. He got a bunch of questions about this. Here's what that sounded like outside the White House today.
Just a few hours later, there was a pause put in on the tariffs. Can you walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know?
Yeah,
they were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions. Because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it.
No.
And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, you know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well, and they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John, they'll do somebody, they'll go through somebody, but they're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them, if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
Don't do it.
So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible. A man like Roger Penske, I don't want to get him in trouble with China, so I won't, but he would know that you have to, someday you have to cut the bow and you have to do what you have to do, right, Roger? And that's what I did, and I'm very happy to have done it.
Mr. President, the Prime Minister of Greece just told Breitbart's Matt Boyle that he thinks absolutely the European Union and the United States could work out a trade deal that's win-win and, quote, mutually beneficial to both sides. What do you think about the Prime Minister's comments, and do you think a deal could be struck with the European Union?
First of all, I know him. He's a good man, and I appreciate his comments. Yeah, a deal could be made with every one of them. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them. And there'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody. But they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. We don't have it there for fun. They have it for a reason. And people took advantage of our country, and they ripped us off for decades. I've been thinking about this for decades. If you have talking about it too. I was young like these guys, and those are good old days, I'll tell you, Roger. But I was like these guys, young, and I was talking about it. Nothing changed, and nothing was done about it. Then I did it in my first term. I did it, and did it well. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others. And I started the process, but then we had to fix up from the COVID mess caused by China. We had to fix up from that, and we did a good job of doing it. And when we handed back the reins after a rigged election, and when we handed back the reins, the stock market was higher than it was before COVID coming in. So, you know, we did a great job, but we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And it's, you know, it's like a patient is sick, you have to do surgery. Patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away with things. And maybe worst of all, in a certain way, is what they did at the border. We had people pouring into our country by the millions. Many of them were murderers and drug lords and thieves and people from prisons from all over the world. And there were people from mental institutions, insane asylums. They were taking their mentally insane, and they were dumping them into our country. And I'll tell you, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing a fantastic job in removing them. And now the courts, the Supreme Court just gave us numerous good rulings.
And they sued
where
again.
We have to be able to get them out. You had other judges trying to take over the system. And think of it, they take over. They want these people coming back. Tren de Aragua from Venezuela, the Venezuela jails that cut off the fingers of a man in Colorado. They cut off his fingers because he called the police looking for help. They said, "Did you call the police?" He said, "Yes, I did." "Put your hand down," and they cut off the fingers. This is what they want to bring these people back. No.
ACLU's favorite
I want to thank
people.
the president of El Salvador for the job he's done, because that is
shout out
the
to
way it
Naive.
has to be done. It's too bad. Yeah, please.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double?
Great question.
I love this guy.
Yeah, great
Whoever the hell
question.
that is.
Great question.
That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out.
Chill.
It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be, there'll be nothing like it.
A lot of sirens
and
today.
People investing
Sheesh.
in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars, we've never seen anything like it. And they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be. They don't want to pay that. They can't pay that. We had 3 cancellations in Mexico, building a plant. They're all coming into the United States. Canada, they're coming in. From China, they're coming in from everywhere. And that's just cars. We have chip makers coming. We're the biggest chip maker in the world, from Taiwan, coming in, spending $3 billion to build plants, and mostly a big plant. This is a hell of a plant when you spend the kind of money that they're going to go $200 to $300 billion, not million. You know, you'd say million would be the right number. It's not. $200 to $300 billion. Think of that, $300 billion. If you look at Apple, Apple is going to spend $500 billion building a plant. They wouldn't be doing that if I didn't do this. They'd just keep building them in China. And that's unsustainable. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but I appreciate the question. And, you know, interestingly, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy, they've wanted to do this for years, but they never had a president that had the guts to do it, because it does take guts, believe me.
Was it the bond markets that persuaded you to reverse course?
No, I was watching the bond market. The bond market is very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market right now is beautiful. But yeah, I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had. Well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day. We had Liberation Day in America. We're liberated from all of the horrible deals that were made, all of the horrible trade deals that were made. And I was helped by people just like this, senator, congressman, and friends, right? And we had great help in the Senate. Our Republican senators have been amazing. They stood tall. And likewise in the House. And John Thune has done an amazing job. Barrasso has done an amazing job. I mean, I can't think of a senator, really. We had tremendous support. We got a bill passed the other day with almost unanimous support in the Senate. And I think we're going to get that in the House, too. And I have to tell you that Mike Johnson is a great speaker. He's done a fantastic job. We had a majority of 1, now we have a majority of 7. And you don't realize how big 7 is until you have a majority of 1. 7 sounds like so much, but we're doing well. But Mike Johnson and John Thune have done a really great job.
Mr. President, was there anyone who influenced your decision? Did you speak with anyone, you know, Jamie Dimon? Did you speak with anyone?
Well, I watched Jamie Dimon on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning, and he was very good. He said that actually made the statement to effect that something had to be done with the tariffs and trade. He said that. He said, look, you know, at some point, but he said something has to be done with tariffs and trade. He understood it. He's very smart and very genius financially. He's done a fantastic job at the bank. And he knows that. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's even a little bit smart knows it. It wasn't sustainable what was happening. Somebody had to pull the trigger. I was willing to pull the trigger. This should have been done long ago. Just like Biden should have stopped the border long ago. I mean, allowed 21 million people plus into our country, many of whom should never have been allowed out of prisons and jails. They came out of prisons and jails from all over the world. And now we're getting them out, bringing them back to their countries. But it's should have never been done. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, would you consider exempting some U.S. companies, maybe some larger companies who have been hit hard in the markets the last few days during this 90 days?
As time goes by, we're going to take a look at it. There are some that have been hard. There are some that, by the nature of the company, get hit a little bit harder, and we'll take a look at that. Yeah.
How will you determine it over the next 90 days?
Just instinctively, more than anything else. I mean, you almost can't take a pencil to paper. It's really more of an instinct, I think, than anything else.
What's your credibility like? Because you said that these tariffs would go into effect on Monday. You said no pause. And today there is a pause. So how can people believe your words today?
It's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall. I'm going to go through that wall. I'm going to go through it no matter what. Keep going, and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them. So I consider, I think in financial markets, because they change. Look how much it changed today. We went from, pretty moderate today, but over the last few days it looked pretty glum, to, I guess they say it was the biggest day in financial history. That's a pretty big change. And I think the word would be flexible. You have to be flexible. Like he's asking the question about some companies. Some companies, through no fault of their own, they happen to be in an industry that is more affected by these things than others. You have to be able to show a little flexibility. And I'm able to do that. I'm going to say hello to these champions because they are great champions. I got to say hello.
All right. That's the president today. So you can see he was out there answering all the questions about the tariffs while he was multitasking, hanging out with race car champions. So that's the president, and some good developments from him. So we'll see what happens. And it's interesting. So, questions we hear are from people who sound like they've never had a negotiation or a back and forth in their entire lives. It's like, well, you changed. Well, that's kind of how this whole thing works. And it's okay to say something and hold the line. And then when something changes, adjust your strategy to conform to the new reality. So that's what they did. And I think ultimately the pressure on China is really where the end game was from the beginning. So Trump out there explaining what happened, and the stock market looking pretty good. Those charts going up and up and up, and the winning continues. All right. Now, my friends, if you're just joining us, a quick recap on the day. We had 4 stories that we covered. We talked about the ACLU lawyers who have filed a bunch of lawsuits in multiple locations. One in Texas, a judge granted a TRO saying you got to give these guys notice and a hearing before you can deport them. Now, the ACLU also submitted their claim in the Southern District of New York. And of course, they're going to fight for status there. We had the hearing that took place. Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, was reporting on it, and he took us inside the courtroom, got to see what happened inside there. And the government's position is, we'll give them due process, but we can set up an administrative proceeding, just like FDR did, to determine whether these people are citizens or terrorists, and then we can make our decisions on our own. We don't need the courts to step in here and micromanage the executive branch. We then talked about the blue states and how they are losing again. The blue states comprised of people like Letitia James, Big Gretch Rona, and their AG Dana Nessel. Remember her? There's Tish, the rest of them. They all sued in against Trump to bring back their fired probationary workers, and the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals came back down. We read through that very short opinion from the Fourth Circuit that said, sorry, you guys have no standing here. Get out. Tish, put your shoes on and get out. We'll see what she does. We listened to a very short clip of her just to save our brain cells, and we'll see what she does next, whether she appeals it or not. We then jumped over and talked about Trump's executive orders that came out today that went after Christopher Krebs, who was formerly in charge of CISA, who after 2020 came back out and said, lied to us in my opinion, and said that the election was amazing and there was nothing to question at all anywhere. And all of us who were questioning it, of course, who have now been vindicated, were conspiracy theorists. He was all over the place. We heard a lot from him. Also, this guy, Miles Taylor, was out as anonymous, was hoisted up on the shoulders of the New York Times. Jake Tapper said this guy was out fighting the Trump tyranny and so on. Well, Trump hit him also with a presidential memo, says no security clearance for you and you're done. And actually is hinting at an investigation for him, maybe referring him to Pam Bondi, which means he's going to be safe and will never be charged with a crime ever. We also then had updates on the tariff situation. So we heard from Trump, obviously, but we heard from the implementer in chief on this one, which was Scott Bessent, who came out, gave us a nice press briefing saying he's going to be meeting with all the countries. So is President Trump, who wants to be personally involved, and the stock markets look good in the aftermath. And so, my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. One more reminder, tomorrow, the show will be early tomorrow. We're doing one stream tomorrow and one stream on Friday, but they'll be earlier in the day because your boy has some other things to attend to, and it's going to be great. But we'll make sure the show stays on the track, so we'll be here. But thank you for subscribing. Thank you for turning on the notification bell. Tomorrow, it's probably going to be like 2:30 Eastern time. It will be the show tomorrow. And then Friday's schedule is still TBD. So, my friends, now, thank you for being here. Thanks for these great comments, these great donos. Thanks, and welcome to our new members. We had a great members-only stream this morning. We talked about Chuck Grassley's new revelation about Jack Smith and the Biden administration and all their scandalous behavior. Donut is clipping for us. Thank you, Donut. And John, what's up, clipping for us? Making things nice and tidy around here. Hey, what's going on? John says, oh, to make, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. John says, to make Donut pick the GIF on where we start today. Thank you, John, for the dono. To make Donut pick the GIF. You guys are amazing. What's up? Former LEO says, wait, your friend's turning 80 years old? Hold my beer. Yeah, he's turning 80. That's a good one. Where are you at, Former? You got him beat? 80's good, man. 80's good. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're going to be celebrating him tomorrow. It's a surprise. Don't tell anybody. Chat with me says, does anyone remember the news saying years ago, saying how liberal AARP was? When looking at the recent protesters, makes me wonder if those paying protesters are coming from AARP lists somehow. Thoughts on that? Is it AARP? I don't know. I think that there are probably other liberal groups who just have other lists. I don't know. I never really heard much about AARP. The American Association of Retired People? Are they out there lighting Teslas on fire? Bunch of angry grannies out there? I don't know. Hey, old lady says, hey, send some healing prayers over for old lady's son. We'll do that, old lady. Send in some loving and healing and energetic prayers to your son and to your fam. Old lady, coming your way. Mama Pillow sending them. Janine Shaner, what's up? CGI Joe, Lenny Malley, Doan, sending them over to you. Thank you for the dono, old lady. Hey, Micah Duckett, what's up? Mika Duckett, in the house. Good to see you. Thank you for becoming a membo. Grab the members only stream from this morning. We had fun this morning and talked some good stuff. Doan says, the Democrats are recruiting mercenaries through the courts. Well, they're certainly fighting for these folks. And the American Civil Liberties Union. It's like, where were they fighting for civil liberties when the J6ers were being abused by the DOJ? Where were they? Screaming about illegal incarceration or something there then. Nowhere to be found. Will Crump says, we have yet another judge with a foreign name. Why can we not simply have American judges born to at least 3 generations of American parents? It is a good question. You know, Joe Biden appointed a lot of foreign-born judges, and it's interesting why he would do that. I mean, apparently he thinks like, and this is weird. I think this is an interesting point on the DC circuit, which should be representative of America. Joe Biden couldn't find any smart judges from America. Nope, like from, I don't know, Michigan, Could somebody from Michigan, born in Michigan, be a good judge for Washington, D.C.? I don't know. How about Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada? Any of them? No. They went and appointed judges from Jamaica and India and the Trinidad and Tobago and other places because they couldn't find any smart American judges. So we had to import them because we're too dumb. Hey, what's up, Nunya? I don't get why we only worry about the southern border when the northern border is much bigger. I get the southern border is the bigger problem. Well, I think that's why. I mean, it is the bigger problem. And yeah, there's a lot more people coming across the southern border in terms of volume of people. So I think that's why we worry about it. But Trump is worried about the northern border. He came at Canada hard and said, we're done with you until you lock it down and stop the fentanyl coming across. And then they're like, well, it was only 44 pounds, which could kill like, I don't know, 10 million Americans or whatever the numbers were. Yeah, good to see you, Nunya. Hey, Bill Dozer. What's up, Bill Dozer? Over on Rumble says, what is the solution to the lower commie courts? Funding? Impeachment won't work as there isn't enough in the Senate. We just hope and pray that the upper courts will respect the Constitution? Question? Yeah, I mean, that's the first avenue is to just appeal them and have the courts settle these things out. And they are actually. I mean, they are settling things down. It's taking a long time, which is obnoxious, but they are. We just read another Court of Appeals case today. 19 blue states lost. 19 states lost because the Court of Appeals settled it. Yesterday, we saw the Supreme Court did the same thing with the Boasberg case. You can't sue there in D.C. So we're getting set. We're working it out. They're like all these like kinks in the body and working the muscles out kind of a thing. It is frustrating. I think long term, obviously, you want to appoint better judges. But if you want to go nuclear, yeah, it's impeachment and removal. It's resolution with removal with simple majorities. It's eliminating the jurisdiction of the bad jurisdictions via congressional fiat, which sets the jurisdiction of the courts. So just get rid of the D.C. Circuit or defund them. Yeah, no more toner and copy paper for your crap opinions. Bonnie, I foresee a detention center being set up in a district with known judges that are the hardest on immigration issues. Think a few districts in Texas, New Mexico, where they are very familiar with gangs. I've never heard of a class action suit to keep people out of jail before now. Yeah, it's pretty wild that they're certifying, and it's a class of Tren de Aragua people because they need representation. 1-800-CALL the ACLU. We'll help you smuggle fentanyl into America. Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. Not a bad idea. Spud says, Rob, as a retired New York State employee, I can safely say that New York is desperate to backfill positions that were and will be vacant due to retirement. Why can't these states hire the laid-off federal workers since most state programs are 80% funded by the Fed anyways? Retirement programs can be amended to their benefit. New York benefits with more money in their retirement systems. Well, I don't know. Maybe they can. Do they want federal bureaucrats working for them? I mean, I think that all of these government workers are such amazing, good people with incredible skill sets, and they care so much about their work that they call themselves civil servants. Even if you don't want them to serve you anymore, they'll sue you until they win and serve you anyways, and you'll pay for their lawsuits. So they'll probably get really good jobs out in the private sector because they're amazing. What's up, Knox says, hey, happy Wednesday, all. I think Letitia's stone is a gallstone. Yeah, she certainly feels like a gallstone in the judicial system. That's for sure. Good to see you, Knox. Hey, Bill Wade. What's up, Bill Wade? Thank you for joining up, Bill Wade. We will see you on the Membos streams and grab the one from this morning. What's up, Bill? Hey, What the Fluff says. Hey, hit the like button right meow. Hit it right meow. Do it right meow. Pinochet's helicopter tour says, can you give a quick overview of the millions the law firms pay on the EOs? Well, it's millions in value of pro bono services. Says, I know the contracts get canceled, but what is with the tribute payments totaling 600 million? Yeah, so if you read the contract, so like, for example, if you actually go over there, let's see if Trump posted it. But like, no, that's going to be harder to find. But like, if he signed something, I was trying to find one real fast to see like if he signed one. Making safe, restoring this, grant of clemency, addressing risk from Jenner and Block. Anyways, in the orders, when he announces a settlement with one, and I think he actually normally does it on Truth, but they are basically donating pro bono services, so hours of legal work. They're just gifting it away, and that money is going to a lot of things. But they say it's to veterans, and almost every one of them, I think every one of them, has had to fight anti-Semitism, which is just really convenient for them, since I'm sure there are many lawyers who are Jewish there to whom that would not be a penalty at all. In fact, it's just a government mandate now. I've got an executive order or a presidential memo or an agreement to go fight anti-Semitism, and we have $100 million of law firm resources we can go use to do that. So maybe about $1 billion of pro bono services to fight anti-Semitism. So I'm sure they're really like reeling from that. Oh no, we have to go sue and stop that. Great. So my question, of course, is like, if it's a pie chart, how much of that pro bono work is going to veterans? How much of that pro bono work is going to, alternative voices, which would be like conservative causes? And how much is going to just fight anti-Semitism? Like, which is in every single document. So it might be like $1 billion going to fight anti-Semitism. But I don't know. J.R. Williams says, it doesn't feel like the SCOTUS decision on AEA Act isn't much of a victory. What if the hearing is in front of a progressive judge who says that they aren't TDA? Well, that is the thing, right? But at least the victory here, J.R. Williams, is a matter of scale and scope. So it's going to be much more limited. What Boasberg was doing was granting a nationwide injunction. Now it's going to have to be in the jurisdiction where they're being housed, and it should be much more limited to the jurisdiction of that court. So they'd have to go individually and fight them. And even if they're fighting them, it's not that they can't be removed. It's just that they have to have some process in that jurisdiction. So it's a little bit more of a decentralized attack that's required now. They have to file a lot more. So it makes it harder for them. What's up? Michael McKenna says, if they confirm the gangbangers as a class, which they have, could they now prosecute them all for crimes committed under RICO? Well, no, they don't want to prosecute them at all. They're not even prosecuting them with crimes. They're just trying to deport them, right? That's the thing. If they were prosecuting them with crimes, then they would get the full due process that anybody gets when you're charged with a crime in America. We're not asking for that. We're just, let's get them out of the country. They can go be housed in their home countries or out of here, and then the due process can be dealt with from there. They're Venezuelan. They're El Salvadorian. Get them out. But they're not even charging them with crimes in the United States. Political Viewer, what's up? Political Viewer says, cool. Good to see you, Political Viewer. You're in the right spot. Hey, Mock Schnell. What's up, Mock Schnell? Thank you. Look at this. Bringing in 10 new friends. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing this. Look who's coming in. Sunshine McLeod is here. We got Peter Uri. What's up, Funkadelic? Is here. We got Genshikin 2006. What's up, Chair Rocking? Pamela Nizlak in the house. Brandon Rudder. Chanth Latham. Kimberly Ferris. All gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell. Bringing in more membos. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing it. Hey, Nunya is here. Says citizen-only voting. What a concept. I know. It's like, wow, a country might limit participation in the country to citizens and might afford the benefits of the country to its citizens. Things like due process and trials and all of that. Weird. Stephen Mosher says, Trish got the lazy eye. Yeah, she kind of does sometimes. It does go a little bit haywire on us. And where was that one? Yeah, right there. Yeah, she looks pretty bad there. Yeah, sometimes it's a little worse than other days. Mock Schnell, 10 more membos. What's up, George from Southeast Michigan? What's up, George? Miko Star in the house. Steve Sayers. What's up, Mustard Seed? We got Third Proverb here. Johanna McFall. What's up? Fruit Fly Sadist. Fruit flies are the worst. Meh is here. Ryan Vintage and 300-Yard Wink is here. All gifted, courtesy of Mock Schnell. More friends coming in. Courtesy of Mock Schnell. More speed, bringing more here. What's up? Naples Live Music is here. Good to see you, Naples. Saw you this morning too. Says, never a dull day in Trump's world. Every day is an adventure. That's for sure. And it's true. It's like you wake up, we never know what's going to happen. And I saw a great comment about this. Like, all the people who woke up today and published their financial newsletters, like, here's what's happening. Somebody, I think Zero Hedge posted about it. Somebody sent out like a 10-page newsletter. Like they were up all night writing this 10-page newsletter. What happens with the bonds? Markets, analysis, charts, up, down, whatever. Trump says tariffs are paused. Everything's irrelevant. Your whole 10-page letter, throw it out, right in the shredder, doesn't matter. J.R. Williams, it flows down from the mountains. Big, beautiful H2O. And now it's going to fall on your head with a lot more pressure and force. Praise God. Doan Burrill, what's up, Doan? Trump is making China pay for unleashing COVID. Yeah, did we forget about COVID? We were supposed to decouple with China a long time ago when they wrecked the planet. And now it's happening. About time. Fred, what's up, Fred? Imagine your name in an EO on live TV by the president. Yeah, that'd be wild. He's like, yeah, actually, I think you should be prosecuted for treason because you were in my administration and you wrote a whole anonymous thing. And it is a problem. He should be investigated. We'll see what Pam Bondi does when she is off Fox News. Chubby says, what the heck has happened to media sound quality? I swear they're purposely using garbage equipment just to make this administration look bad or something. So annoying. Yeah, I tried to find a clip of that exchange. I think that Caroline and Scott Bessent like shocked them a bit. Came out like the media didn't know what was going on, but I couldn't find a good clip of it. Forbes was a good one. Then I found that other one, which was like a little bit better. But all the sound was bad. All the video was bad. They all started late. It was wild. Doan says China's market just saw its worst loss since 1997. Right, their markets are waking up over there. Yeah, tonight should be interesting. No doubt. Thank you, Doan. Hey, Sheila Poo. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for all you do, Rob. Love this channel. We love you back, Sheila. Thank you for really being a membo here. Thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for the fun comments, for bringing good energy, positivity. We appreciate you, Sheila. Thanks for being here. Bobsco, what's up? Says, busy working. Hey, Rob, you're the man. Bobsco, it's exactly how I feel about you. Hopefully the work's going well. Thanks for the dono today. Hey, fried pie. Like 3.14157.159. I don't think that's right. Fried Pie says, China is the biggest cheater on WTO rules. Yeah, Fried. This morning we played a clip on the Membo stream with Kevin O'Leary, who came out and he said, we need to smash their heads economically into the wall. I was like, dang, Kev, you're lit this morning. And he said the same thing, and it's interesting to hear people talk about it. Like, nobody wants to talk about it because China will just kick you out, and then you lose access to 1.5 billion people. If you're a business person over there, like nobody wants to talk about it. But now we do. Bobsco, good to see you, Bobsco. Bringing in Gillis in the house. Welcome aboard, Gillis. Let's see what this one looks like. STS is in the house. Wow. This looks like some sort of, what do they call these things? Anime. Something type of situation. STS is here. What's up, STS? Thank you for bringing in new membos. What's up? STS is bringing in 5 friends. Irene Abbott is here. J Dubs, welcome. Brayton Seidel. We got Hork is here. And Lizzie, gifted membo. Thank you, STS, for doing that. And for having a handsome cat. Fried Pie says, China is also the biggest thief of intellectual property. Yeah. And we did a whole segment this morning on China and how they're in big trouble now. I think they are. Fried Pie says, China is a-ho. Yeah, there's a great clip of that too. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is a-hole. Great clip. That guy's right. Michelle, what's up? Says, someone planned America's destruction. Watching in real time, they had contingency plans for their contingency plans. I wonder if they are on self-sleep watch because Trump's always 3 steps ahead. Yeah, they felt like they got caught on this one. I mean, they did. Like, they had the whole... This has happened several times. Like, they come out with a whole plan on what they're going to say. Like Chuck Schumer, Trump's slump. Somebody came up with this new plan today. Trump's slump. They were going to come out and smash that all over the media all day. And they're like, oh, the Dow shot up. Wow. So all of their well-laid plans are all irrelevant now. So thanks. But I think you're right about that, Michelle. And Joe Biden, it was happening under Joe Biden's watch. They were ransacking all of the funds for their people. They were opening up the border. They were depleting our military. They were stealing elections and trying to imprison their opponents. They almost got away with it, man. We were close. What's up, Milo Phone Bill? Time to get back in the market. The real time was when Trump told us to this morning. And don't feel bad if you didn't listen to Trump and get in at the time. Because think about all the finance bros who didn't. All the finance bros. Like, the president gave you a direct order and you didn't take all of your clients like all in. You're in trouble. Clark, what's up? Clark Blount. Where were these Democrats complaining about the rule of law while O'Biden was streaming illegals in? Yeah, they didn't care at all about anything that they did. They just did what they wanted. And the country got overrun, and we had useless Republicans who would come out and say, we need to pass a bill that codifies 4,000 coming in every day. Ridiculous. Thank you, Clark. Hey, Justin Gusick. What's up, Justin? Thanks for becoming a membo. We appreciate you supporting us. Grab that stream from this morning. Doan is here. Says, on immigration, we might have to move most of Taiwan in or go to war with China, God forbid. Maybe we'll deal with Formosa for China's share of our debt. Yeah, and JR says, we are building Taiwan semi-fabs. We got one building coming up here in Arizona. Yeah, it's a big one, not far from here. Yeah, we don't want war at all, but the Taiwan situation is problematic. What's up, Spud? Says, defoliate me, Grover? Who is that, Elmo? Nam? Elmo's in Nam? F is for flamethrower. Yeah. Teach your kids. What's up, Clark? Hey, Democrats, afuera. Afuera, out of here, from Clark. It's a good idea. Yeah. Especially the ACLU Democrats. What's up? Give me more. More here is here. What's up? Thank you, more here. Check this out. We got 5 new friends coming in. Liz is here. Super Iron Bob. What's up, Rex Turbo? We got Chris Carson and Uncle Mooch, gifted membos, courtesy of more here. Bringing in 5 more here. Thank you, more here, for doing that. Hey, what's up? We got more from Clark. Clark. 10 more friends coming in. American Jane, welcome. Old school. We got daughter of the King of Kings, Rita. What's up? Stephanie A is here. Sierra 3. Wendy W. Christopher Reed. We got James Willis, Ben Adams, Timothy Farrelly, and more coming in courtesy of Clark Blount. Bringing in a bunch of new friends. Thank you, Clark, for doing that. Triple D says, if Jeb Boasberg lacked jurisdiction, the class cannot be valid, right? Well, yeah, there are other claims in their complaint that he is allowing to percolate. But yeah, if he doesn't have jurisdiction over the case, the argument would be he has no jurisdiction over anything. But it's really kind of a moot point. It doesn't really matter because they just filed the same claim elsewhere and got practical classes certified in New York and in Texas anyways. Now, it's not nationwide, right? The class doesn't extend to the whole country, but it is to the people in the facilities there. So it's just morphed into something else. More here. Look at this, bringing in even more friends. What's up, Craig Law? What's up? Welcome, Craig. Kimbo is here. JM Farouch. We got Crazy Walenko and Rose Bennett, gifted membos, courtesy of More Here. Thank you, More Here, for bringing them in. We appreciate having new friends here. This one came in from former, says 81 years old in July. Man, coming up soon, 81, baby. It's going to be good, former. Picture is in 1965, 21 years old, and on my honeymoon with wife number 1A. Number 1A versus 1B? I don't know what's going on. I had to check this one because honeymoon photo, you never know. Man, former, what a handsome and dapper fella you are. Handsome man, 81 years old, 21 years old at the time. 1965. What a great photo. Well, shout out to you, former, 81 years strong. We appreciate you being here. Hey, Jessica Price says the ACLU are terror-loving civil liberties union. Yeah, ACLU, the American Terrorist and Illegal Civil Liberties Union in America. Wild. Thank you, Jessica. What are they doing? Hey, what's up? Knox is here. Hey, prayers for old lady son coming your way. That's a +1, old lady son. Sharpie guy says, I'm still waiting with bated breath for the Doge reveal. Yeah, remember they said that there was going to be something big and shocking. But Trump entertains us as the boss he is while we wait. Come on, Elon, and don't become Bondi. They're on my desk as we speak, accompaniment. Please, oh, please, give us what it is. I know. Yeah, maybe they're still on Pam's desk. We're waiting for those two. Thank you for that, Sharpie guy. What's up, Triple D? Says, Jeb lacked jurisdiction. How is the class valid? So the TROs in Jeb's cases are not valid. Those are vacated. So practically there is no class in Boasberg's case because there's nothing stopping anything right now. Like everything he did is vacated. But there were two other filings in Texas and New York that were brought under habeas, which does give those judges jurisdiction. So they did impose the class. So Jeb's case is basically DOA right now. Like he certified, he issued a TRO that covered a class. The TRO is invalid, so it's not covering a class. Like he might say a class exists in his brain, but that class is not impacted by anything at the moment. So he's done, but they just did the same thing. They took the same case, copy and pasted it, wrote habeas on it, and then submitted it in two other locations, and now they're essentially classes there. Yeah, I know it's frustrating, Triple D, wild. Hey, what's up? Stop the China fraud hustle. Says security flawed, China hustle, aided and abetted by Biden? Question marks. All great questions from Stop the China Hustle Fraud. Lady L, 7 months as a member, 2 months till we get a baby, says, Trish has blue eyes. One blue east and one blue west. Tish James. Oh, that's funny. She's got blue eyes. One's blowing west, one's blowing right. Like it. Hey, I like that one. One's blowing east, one's blowing right. That's funny. Thank you, Lady L, for that. Hey, Christy Cat says, definitely, we can help. Says, I love this Watcher family. We love you back, Christy Cats. Thanks for being a member on Locals. Says, I love this Watcher fam. Could you all say a quick prayer for my son, Joe, who's 24, has a rare disease called Wegener's, and he has another infusion tomorrow. Has to go on short-term disability from work at the age of 24. Man, we're sorry to hear that. So your son, Joe, I just keep praying and have faith. Your show gives me something to look forward to, Rob. Man, thank you for that, Christy Katz. I'm sorry your family's going through this, man. Your son, 24, young man, and I'm hopeful that this is on a path towards something that's sustainable and that he can recover from this. I don't know what the treatment is or what the condition is. It sounds trying, but we're glad that you're here, Christy Katz, and we're going to send some love and some healing energy and some heavenly prayers to you, your boy, and your family, and wish him a speedy recovery and a successful infusion tomorrow. Sending love your way. I know there's many more coming as well. So, Christy Katz, prayers for your boy, Joe. What's up? Let's say hello. Thank you, my friends, first of all, for sending those in. We greatly appreciate your support. Welcome new members. Thank you for the fun comments. Let's see who's joining us on X before we wrap it up and we go over to Locals and do a debrief over there and see who's joining us over there. Here's what we've got on Locals. Elliot! Are you guys following Elliot yet? He's doing some great work. And here's what he said. So he's got a list here. And Elliot says, okay, here's a list. So make sure you're following Elliot. So he's got a nice list to dockets of significant cases. And so if you're looking for a big fat list of all the cases, man, this is what Elliot does. This is Doc-Master. Okay, that's why I'm saying you should follow him. Doc-Master extraordinaire. Look at this list. Look at all these docs. Docs for days, baby. And Elliot's been a huge help to the show, helping us find docs and alerting us to other docs that we're missing out there. So it's a great list. Yeah, and also, we didn't cover this one today, but they did issue a stay. So this was another one with Wilcox, and I think the other one was Kathy Harris, right? So Wilcox and Harris, they got fired, they got rehired, they got fired, and then I got rehired and then refired again, I think. So another good update. Thank you, Elliot, for that. Hey, Mini Tika, how many cards will they try? DEI, Alphabet, Climate, sheesh. Popcorn with Rob on Rumble. Good to see you over there, Mini Tika. Thanks for watching on Rumble. And Fred says, here's breaking news. In 2006, Letitia James had a crush on Trump, asked him on a date. He declined, and now she's a woman scorned and the AG. James Pepper, what's up? We should recognize Taiwan as China and say to hell with the commies. Danny says, the past week on tariffs, I read The Art of the Deal. It's all in there. And it's not a huge surprise. Like Trump put tariffs on Mexico, then kind of cut those down. Same thing in Canada. Cut those down. People like shocked that he's playing this game are, I think, maybe missing it. Hey, Timothy Oakley. What's up, Timothy? Says, I made it. Got my popcorn. Let's go, Rob. Thank you, Timothy, for joining us. What's up? Angeli Polisi says, good evenings and blessings. Blessings to you, Angie. Great to see you. Free Thinking Latina has Jeb as a TDA gang member. Jeb Boasberg. Good to see you, Free Thinking Latina. Funny comment. SJV, another easy layup. Good to see you, James Pepper. And it's very nice to see our friends over on X. Fun stuff. All right, so we'll wrap it up there, my friends. Before we do, Tony Hay Munkets brought in more membos. Thank you, Tony Hay, for bringing 5 new friends in. Look at this. Chris Zeke is here. Jerry Lass. What's up, Patrick? Mojack420. Brian T. Moniz, cryptozoologist, all gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Tony Hay Munkets, you rock. Thank you for that. Hey, what's up, Clark? It puts the lotion on its skin or it gets deported again. What are we talking about here? Nancy Pelosi's elbow? I don't know. Thank you, Clark. But maybe her elbow should be deported. Have you seen it? It's rough. All right, so my friends, thank you so much for sending those in. New members, welcome aboard. Grab the stream from this morning. One final reminder, tomorrow's show will be early. I'm thinking 2:30 Eastern time is probably when it's going to be. So we'll have the latest there, and we're looking forward to getting into it again. And so before we round it out, my friends, on the day, we want to thank our amazing mods and our meme smiths who mod the fort down for us and keep things oh so nice and beautiful around here. K-Bean, Donut Mind Me. We got Carrie B, Playing Hooky, Dog Digger, and Janek modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly. Thank you to Jigam. Thank you to Just Rhonda, Purveyor of Fine Emojis, and of course, Doc Master, who you saw swing by the show on X. But my friends, that is it for us on the day. Tomorrow, we will be back on the show. It will be a little bit earlier than normal. And we're going to need to see you right back here, so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.